The real number system, rational and irrational numbers. Real numbers, all numbers are either rational or irrational. So we only have two types of numbers, rational and irrational numbers. Make sure you write these in your words worth knowing. Real numbers. Real numbers consist of all the rational and irrational numbers. The real number system has many subsets, natural numbers, whole numbers, and integers. Natural numbers are the set of counting numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Whole numbers. Whole numbers are the set of numbers that includes 0 plus the set of natural numbers. So you're counting numbers, you're just going to add 0. Integers. Integers are the set of whole numbers and their opposites. The negative sign literally means the opposite. So the opposite of 3 would be negative 3. Rational numbers. Rational numbers are any numbers that can be expressed in the form of a fraction where the denominator is not 0. They can always be expressed by using terminating and repeating decimals. Terminating decimals are decimals that contain a finite number of digits. Example, 36.8, 0.125, 4.5. A terminating decimal is a decimal that comes to an end. It stops. Repeating decimals are decimals that contain an infinite number of digits, meaning they go on forever. 0.333 with the dots means keep going. Irrational numbers are non-terminating, non-repeating decimals. Decimals that go on forever without repeating a pattern. For example, irrational numbers, pi is an irrational number. The square root of 2 is an irrational number. You try. On the left side of your paper, classify all the following numbers as either natural, whole, integer, rational, or irrational. List all that apply. To show how these numbers are classified, create a Venn diagram on your paper. Place the numbers where they belong on the Venn diagram. You have rational numbers, integers, whole numbers, natural numbers, and irrational numbers. Make sure you create the picture on your page. Comparing numbers. When comparing decimal numbers, stack them on top of each other, lining up the decimals. Fill in any blank spaces with zeros. Then compare the numbers from left to right. Which is larger, 0.6 or 0.60? Of course, they're the same. Which is larger, 0.4 or 0.29? Well, 0.4 is larger because if I line them up and place zeros behind the 4, 4 is bigger than 2. Which is larger, 0.455 or 0.47? Well, 0.47 is larger because 7 is larger than 5. What must we do in order to compare fractions, decimals, and percents? Change them all to the same form. Decimal form or generally is easier to compare. Is 3.68 more or less than 1/2? How did you change it? Divide the denominator. Is 5/6 closer to 0, 1/2, or 1? It's closer to 1. How'd you know? Is 3/8 closer to 0, 1/2, or 1? It's closer to 1/2. How could you explain to me how 3/8 is closer to 1/2? Is 2/9 closer to 0 or 1/2 or 1? Well, 2/9 is closer to 0. How do you know? As the numerator and denominator get further apart, the fraction is closer to 0. As the numerator gets closer to the half of the denominator, the fraction gets closer to 1/2. As the numerator gets closer to the denominator, the fraction is closer to 1. What other fractions are close to 0 or close to 1/2? How do you write a repeating decimal? 3.55555 will be written as 3.5 with the line over the 5 because the 5 is repeating. Which of the following groups of numbers are arranged from least to greatest? Well, that would be B, because if I put them all in the same form and lined them up completing zeros, B would be from least to greatest. How do you change percent to a decimal? Move the decimal 2 places to the left, or divide by 100. Which is larger, 2% or 2? Well, if I put it in decimal form, 2 would be larger because that would be 2.0 or 0.02. 2 would be greater. Which is larger, 71% or 7.1? 7.1 is larger. The real number systems, rational and irrational numbers. I hope this video has given you a better understanding of rational and irrational numbers.